mobile. I believe this is about the new Power App. Julian, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Andy. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to do a little session about the new field service mobile Power App. For a lot of people, I think this is going to be an interesting development as to what it actually means. So what am I actually going to cover? Sorry. Before I start, a little bit about me. I've been involved in Dynamics for a long time. I've really been focusing on field service for the last few years as my sort of specialty Dynamics app. It's the app I like the most. It's probably got the most interesting, got the most potential, I think, to really change how people work. My contact details are there if you want to get in touch. So what we're going to look at is the new field service mobile Power App and what that actually is. What I'm going to do is compare it with the other mobile options that we have for field service, because everybody's thinking, what does this mean for me? And really, that's the whole purpose of this session. What should I do next? What's it going to mean for me going forward? So that's really the aim of what I'm going to be talking about. Hopefully I'll answer all your questions as we go through. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. We'll leave time for questions at the end. So the new field service mobile Power App. This was announced and I thought, oh, it's a Power App. It's going to be a Canvas app. And that's great because the Canvas, if you've done anything with Canvas apps, it's a nice mobile experience. It's nice, rich user interface. It can integrate with, or Canvas apps can integrate with the device and integrate with GPS natively, with the camera. It's got some offline capability. So when I first read about this, the first thing I spotted, oh, it's a model-driven app. Okay, because my experience with the model-driven app and using that, I don't know if any of you have used the Dynamics 365 mobile app running a model-driven app, the user interface is quite basic. And if you think about what a technician needs when they're in the field, they need quite a lot of information. And the way the Dynamics model-driven app works is, yes, you get one screen per form and you have to navigate around. I thought this isn't going to be that great an experience. Additionally, the model-driven app mobile didn't really have great offline. We've had a really mixed offline story. So I was a little bit skeptical when I first looked at this, when I first heard about it. But so I've had myself a deep dive into it and tried to figure out what it's really going, where Microsoft is going. And that's really what I'm going to try and get over in the next 20 minutes or so. So first of all, it's a model-driven app, not a Canvas app. And it requires the unified interface. You need a unified interface model-driven app. So the old classic web interfaces won't work with it. But what's really nice, I think, what's actually happened as the field service team has gone to develop this model-driven app, they've realized that actually some of those things I mentioned were limitations. The fact that the navigation was an issue. So what they've done, they've actually worked with the Power Apps team to enhance the capabilities of model-driven apps on a mobile device. And I think through this, they've actually now got something that will work. I was very skeptical to begin with. I'm much more of a convert now. Now, the other thing is they're built as a native app for iOS and Android. One of the questions you're going to ask is, do I run this from the Power Apps app or the Dynamics 365 mobile app? No, there is a separate app you install on your mobile device, and I'll come to that. I think one of the biggest benefits of using this field service mobile Power App as in comparison with what was the old, the field service mobile, which Microsoft is tending to refer to as the Xamarin client, is that you can reuse your business logic and your customizations. You're going to perform them once in the way you're used to within model-driven apps and the common data service. You're not going to have a separate customization effort to do again, and you have to do changes multiple times. Now, there are specific forms that will be installed for the field service mobile Power App. So there are multiple forms, but again, you just have to redo it, or you might be able to do it once and then use it and work out which fields you need on each form. Now, at the moment, this app is only for iOS and Android devices, not for Surface or say Windows devices. So, say a lot of people run field service using a Surface device, a Surface tablet, for instance, rather than a phone. At the moment, that isn't here. But I'm going to come and talk about what's here now versus what's in the roadmap. So, what does the app do? This new Power App. Well, it gives you a calendar view of bookings, so you can. I've got a screenshot of that, and quite a nice view actually. They've done a nice calendar view that looks more like an Outlook type interface rather than your classic grid view of your bookings. That's a screenshot of what it looks like. You can view and update your work orders. You can view and update your bookings. You can change your booking status. All the sort of things you might want to do being a field service tech. And it does have this integration with devices. It's got the camera integration, so you can take pictures. It's got signature capture, and it does have some GPS, which I think was one of the things. Oh, it doesn't have the GPS integration, but I found out it actually does now, so you can send where the technician is. And it uses the offline functionality. I'm going to talk a bit more about that later on. But probably one of the biggest things is it uses the new inspections functionality that's in this latest release, or this and the next Wave 2 release. So you've got that capability to use the inspection type functionality. That's very much been built in from day one. And I think Microsoft done a very good job right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to compare the Field Service Mobile with the Field Service Mobile Power App in a minute. But I think it might meet your needs now. So how do I get it? First of all, it's a separate model-driven app. It appears automatically when you're at Field Service 8.8.22 or higher. And you'll go and if you look at your apps, you'll see the Field Service app and you'll see that Field Service mobile app. That's a model-driven app. And you can test it. You can just run it in a browser just to see what it looks like if you want. Now, my experience is if it gets added in, it won't have a security role associated with the app. So you go run your mobile app and it doesn't appear. You need to make sure you associate the security role. So go and click on the three dots on the ellipses within that view and assign it or map it to the roles that you use for your field service techs. The other thing you might want to do now, you might want to enable the early access features on your environment, because there are some quite new features. Some of the things are coming out now, they're in preview. So there's early access for Wave 2. That's now been put out there. Might want to go look at those if you want to explore this option. So you need to do this. You need to make sure you're the right version, add the security roles, and maybe enable early access features. That takes about an hour to apply, I think, to your environment. And then you need to go and get the app on your mobile device, an Android or iOS device. And this is what you need to search for. You need to search for the Field Service brackets Dynamic 365 brackets. And it's that one I've got highlighted. It's not the Dynamics 365 app. It's not the Power Apps app. This is a separate app, and this is deliberate. They are not going to merge this in because they want this to be a field service tech experience. And they don't want field service techs to think, oh, I'm going to search for this app or this. They're going to be, it is this field service app. This is a dedicated app for field service techs. So you go and select it and you go and install it. If you're doing a trial, when you start the app up, click in settings and show non-production apps. It's like the other apps, it won't appear. This took me ages. Why can't I run this to get these screenshots? And I just have to make sure show non-production apps if you're running a trial or a sandbox or your development environment, so you can go and test it out. So this is what it looks like. You sign in. It's very much, it's branded field service rather than Dynamics. You sign in with your account, and then you get the ability to see it. I've just tried to show you what's in the second screenshot, what's available. You've got bookings, work orders, accounts, contacts. If you enable the early access features, you'll see things like IoT alerts in there. There's some more functionality. And you'll see it looks fairly familiar in terms of your interface you might expect, where we've got different tab settings, and you can go through and you can look at. So I'm just showing you some of the things you might want to do. And you can go and enable it to work in an offline mode. Actually, this is one of the other things. To set up the offline, you need to set up an offline profile in settings in your web application. And then you need to map the offline profile with the field service mobile app. So you have to go to your app settings and say it uses this offline capability. Now, I've actually seen it once where it was set up automatically, and then the other time where it wasn't. There is a default offline profile created for the field service app when you install field service, so you can go use that, or you may want to tweak it. I'm not really going to go into the functionality of that. If you want to learn more, there was a session on day 2 of this boot camp, which was really good. It went into actually how you all did this with a demo. That'll be up, I think, in a couple of weeks. Mark's going to post a link for it, hopefully, or has posted a link. It'll be on the tech community site. You'll be able to go watch that video, a couple of hours, really good demo walkthrough of how to set all this up. I'm not really going to cover that. I'm really going to talk about the differences and where you're going to go from here. So what I'm going to look at now is really a comparison between the different mobile options you have if you're implementing field service. So what am I going to offer? And I think there are 3 options now. There's the using the what Microsoft now referred to as the field service mobile Xamarin app, which was the app which is powered by a third-party service, Resco. And this is a very mature field service, very mature mobile application for Dynamics, and has got a lot of functionality for field service. Microsoft licenses this technology from Resco. And one of its great benefits is its ability to work offline with proper offline sync and drip feeding, and quite a nice lot of capabilities around offline working. And it's very much optimized for the technician, everything on one screen. It's got integration with SharePoint. It's got integration with Google Maps. It's got integration with SharePoint document libraries, including offline libraries. I'm going to talk about some of the things it can and can't do. But the downside of the field service mobile is it had a separate configuration experience called Woodford. And if any of you know about that, it's a lot of effort to go and configure again. You have to do things twice. So that's not a great experience, and I've had people, and it's slightly different. The way it handles JavaScript is slightly different. So you're duplicating effort. It has some sort of rules engine which is different from business rules. So you end up with this separate extra communication. The other option we had before the field service mobile app was to build a custom Canvas app, and this is what I have done, or we have done in the past. We have built Canvas apps. Basically because we didn't need the full complexity of the field service mobile. We needed something simple. I was watching Thomas's talk earlier, and I thought, yeah, maybe he could have, rather than using, I think he did the field service mobile. But in his situation, I might have done a Canvas app to create a much simpler UI for the field service techs. Just pointing into my common data service. Because the thing about Canvas apps, they do have some functionality. I can do things like GPS location, track where we are. I can make you can make it look very nice. It's got integration with cameras. And again, probably when I started on field service a few years ago, the Dynamics 365 mobile, it didn't integrate with the device. You couldn't even use the camera until recently. But with Canvas apps, I can do all of that. I've got the GPS integration. I can access SharePoint if I want. So Canvas apps, I think, are still there as an option. You should still keep there if you've got especially non-standard field service. A lot of the conversation we've had in Carl's talk earlier on about doing things outside of your traditional field service. I think there's a huge market out there for non-traditional field service. But this new field service mobile power app opens up a lot of opportunities to us. So it's a modular app, but it does lack some important features right now. So let's dive into that. And this is very much my personal view. This is my exploration. I might be wrong on some of this, and somebody might pipe up and say, no, that's wrong, that's right. But this is just my view on what you can do and compare between the different options. So all of the options can read, write my entities. It's just licensing. They can all read, write, work orders, bookings, whatever. I've already mentioned the custom Oh, the custom Canvas app should have Windows on there as well. Missing out. So Canvas app can run on Windows, but my field service mobile power is only iOS and Android at the moment. I believe from what was discussed on Thursday and day 2 of the bootcamp, they are looking at native Windows because there are a lot of techs who use Surface devices or other Windows devices. Yes, they can all do offline data. The key point is how much. With Field Service Mobile, the Xamarin, it's got a nice ability to do filters and offline sync filters, and do drip feeding and a lot of nice features and properly work offline. Field Service Mobile has some offline capability right now, and including getting related data. It looks pretty good. Will meet you a lot of requirements, but they have in the roadmap to do some more enhancements to that to make it comparable with the Field Service Mobile. Whereas I look at a Canvas app, you can do offline, but you have to do the work yourself, and it doesn't really, handling offline sync filters is going to be difficult. It's good for simple cases, the Canvas app, but not necessarily for more complex working fully offline. Yes, they've all got GPS location. But things like geofencing, at the moment, only Field Service Mobile has got that. So if you're geofencing, is a really nice feature. Detecting when somebody comes within the location site, you know where they are and doing that. They've all got mobile device management with maybe Intune, and also Field Service Mobile has its own as well on top of that. Just in reporting, Field Service Mobile has got some inbuilt reporting. The Field Service Power App, but the new Power App doesn't yet. If I want to do time entry, one of the things the Field Service Mobile and Field Service Power App, they both can enter time entries. If you want to do it on Canvas app, yes, you can do it. You just need to build the form. It's trivial. So there's not a lot of difference there, but it's there or getting close. One of the things that's coming in the next Wave 2 release, I think Mark Christie tweeted about this yesterday about the technician locator. Where's my tech? That's coming. In this, I think it's coming later in the year. It's in the roadmap to basically say to a customer, "Where is my technician?" They can know where they are, capture their GPS location, and know when they're on the way. In the past, we might have done this with Glimpse in the Field Service Mobile, but just be able to customer know where their tech is, see where they are on the route, see how long it's going to take to turn up. That's coming. There's a huge amount of investment coming here, which makes me feel like the Field Service Mobile Power App is really going to be as good at, if not better than what we have now, except it's just not there yet. When we look at some of the other things, there's all the sort of basic camera, barcode scanning, signature capture there. I can do all those at any of my options. But then when it gets into this, it's interesting. To be able to scan and identify an asset, that's in Field Service Mobile now. It's not. It's in the roadmap for the Power App. And yes, I could do it in the Canvas app. Anything I can do, I can pretty much do anything in Canvas app if I build it or I put a PCF control if I want. But other things like remote assist, that's built into Field Service Mobile with deep linking for both the Field Service Mobile and the Field Service Mobile Power App. The ability to hook in Field Assist. Remote assist without having the tech having to navigate between two applications. But Field Service, the new Power App also got PVAs, Power Virtual Agents. But I think one thing that's missing at the moment is this SharePoint files offline. Typically, we use files for offline documents. That's there in the Field Service Mobile, not in the Power App. So I've tried to give you a little flavour of what's there. And really, when I started looking at this a couple of months ago, there was a lot less in the roadmap option. I was actually, when I did this slide deck a couple of months ago for my own benefit, I had a lot of no's in there rather than roadmaps. Because let me just explain what the issue was. Microsoft hadn't said very much. And therefore, it's like, okay, when am I going to use this? When should I use this over the Field Service Mobile? It's only recently that Microsoft updated their docs page. Now, this link I've got at the bottom, you should go have a look at this. This is the only page where there's information. And they've updated this recently. They've put these statements in. Microsoft recommends to continue to use the Field Service Mobile Xamarin app for current and new deployments. But they are going to extend the capabilities of the Power App. It's going to evolve to become comparable with the Field Service Mobile Xamarin in 2021. And the big, huge statement is by 2021, new deployments must use this Power App. So that's what Microsoft is aiming at by end of June 2021, and support for field service mobile app ends in 2022. So if I was looking at a project now, this is quite major for me. What should I do? Because if I'm rolling out the field service mobile app in a couple of years, I'm going to have to redeploy it. And the biggest cost for me on a field service project isn't the configuration, it's the rollout and training to my field service techs. If you've got hundreds of techs, you've got to deploy the app and train them in it. And that's a massive cost. So you've got to take people out of their jobs and put them in a room and train them how to use it. And if I was starting a project now, this would be quite a concern for me. So you need to take this into account. So I would make sure if you're working on a project or looking at a project now, think about this very seriously. I might do a mixture project. I might do a simple Canvas app for now and then roll out the other one later. These are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. This is not Microsoft. So my view now, if you've got simpler needs that you can meet with that field service mobile Power App now, use that app. Don't use the Xamarin app. If you've got something that doesn't fit, I mean, one of the big things that's missing out of the Power App is push notifications, the ability to send a notification to a tech saying, oh, that job's been cancelled, you need to go to this job. You can't rely on the tech just checking their mobile app. You need to push a notification to them. Consider using a Canvas app, or might even another one might be using the Power Apps and use Flow and use notifications in Flow to do that. Try working around it a different way. If you have really strong offline requirements which need those offline sync filters, or you need to be able to use offline documents, then you should carry on with the field service mobile Xamarin app. If you need location auditing, use the field service mobile Xamarin app, because those functionalities, those two functions are not going to be there for until next year, the end of this year, beginning of next. If you need geofencing, it's another example, something that's is coming, that's not that. But if you already deployed the field service mobile, or you've already got it, I would actually start looking at the field service mobile Power App, but wait until the Wave 2 release is also, because a number of the changes I'm talking about aren't going to be there. They're not even in preview now, a lot of them. So they're not, although we've got an October release, some of these aren't coming till December. So if you have a look at that link I sent you earlier, that I put up earlier, and I'm going to make these all available at the end, it shows you the dates of when each of these are coming. Each of these things, they're coming over a series of months. It's not just one release, there's a whole series of little release of changes. So I would start, if I'm on field service mobile now, I'd be starting to look at this in a few months' time. Let's start reading the release notes. So we've only got a short time. My slides are there. I shall paste all these links in the chat at the end. Go download these slides with all the links. So tinyurl.com/FS mobile app. I'll take you to my OneDrive. So we'll post these in a minute. That's the link to that page. Go have a look and have a read of it. It's actually quite long. It actually takes you also through now to set up and install and configure the offline as well. So it's got some nice instructions. And this is what I found out. These are the only documentations, a couple of blog posts on. So I've also put the Wave 1 and Wave 2 things. It's very much under the technician success heading. So that's me done. Do we have any questions, Auntie?
Excellent session, Julian. Can't wait for this to hit the recording to hit online and be able to send it to a couple of customers. We do have a question from Subramania. If we are starting implementation by this month, should we consider FS Mobile Xamarin app or Power App?
I think, as I say, it depends on what your requirements are, especially around GPS and geofencing and offline usage.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the other thing is, yes, there's just so you mentioned about using stuff in early access for production. I'm a bit wary about using stuff that's early access in production. Very much so. You have to take a view on, is it going to be there and how much trouble is it going to cause me? because you don't necessarily get support in production if it's in private preview.
Yep, makes sense. All right, everyone. If you have any other questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask Julian right away. I don't have to necessarily be a proxy in between.
Yeah, ask away. Is it lunch now, or is it?
Yes, we'll have lunch now for an hour, and we'll play the keynote on the dual track, and then we'll continue exactly in 1 hour on both this track. So this is track 1, and then on track 2 as well.
Okay.
With new sessions. So we have exactly 1 hour for lunch. It seems that there aren't any further questions.
No, that's great.
Again, fantastic session, Julian. Thanks personally. I got a lot of gotchas from this one.